So welcome to the second session of Tuesday Talks.
Good to see you.
And today we're going to tackle the topic of fun learning environment. So we have Sanna with us today, CEO of Fun Academy. And we're going to talk today maybe a little more broadly about what a fun learning environment is and why it's important. And as the weeks go on, we hope to dive deeper into different areas of the topic.
Exactly. So saying that we're going to tackle the topic of learning environments is pretty much promising a lot. We absolutely will not tackle that topic, but we're going to try and tackle some of the most important things that we see connecting fun learning with the learning environments.
Absolutely. But please bear with us. I'm just going to fix the camera a little bit. Behold, it's the world of live recording so that you get a better view of what we're about to show you next.
Yeah, so we're working on the presentations, which will be interesting in a moment. But yes, what we will be talking about is the main and general issues that fun learning connects to the environments and how that environment then is connected to curricular activities and how the curriculum is connected to life skills and what this all might mean.
Exactly. So we are also coming live to you today from Vantaa, same as last week. It is the airport city in Finland, and we are coming to you live today from a kindergarten. So let's get straight to it. So Sanna, what is a learning environment? What does it entail?
A learning environment is so much. Typically, when we talk about a learning environment, we talk about maybe the classroom and the playground. But that's quite a narrow definition of a learning environment, although very important. And both the classroom and then the playground or the outdoors of a early childhood venue, in our case, would be what we're going to be talking about these coming weeks. But before we go deep into those particular parts of the learning environment, we need to talk about a much broader environment. A child is, of course, a living being that needs to be learning a lot of things and a lot of skills, preparing for the future, but also the child is living maybe the most important time of a human being's life. So what we talk about when we're talking about a learning environment is pretty much everything that connects the child to the world where the child currently is living, but everything that connects the child also to the child's future. So there are definitely many things that we need to be talking about when we talk about learning environments in general.
Yeah, absolutely. And last week we had we explored fun learning and the key principles of fun learning, and one of the principles was learning is fun when the environment is inspiring. So maybe we could talk a little bit more about how this is connected.
Yes, one of the main fun learning principles is learning is fun when the environment is inspiring. And that also means many kinds of things. For a smaller child, it means certain things, and when the child grows, it means maybe other things. We're catering to the sensitive periods of the child, and we absolutely need to be looking at age appropriateness. We need to be looking at the needs of the child, and then we need to be looking at where we actually are located physically with this child. And nowadays, looking at an inspirational environment also then often also includes the wider world that we can approach via technology, like what we're doing right now, talking to people who are not in the same physical environment as we are. An inspiring environment supports the development of the child in a way that it gives the kid options, limited choices, prepared by the educator or the parent. Maybe understanding what the child is, as an individual, excited about, So offering inspiration that will support the child's interests or needs. And then again, it might also be inspirational in bringing things to the child that might activate the child to try and test something that the child is about to be learning about. An inspiring environment offers opportunities for exploring, exploration as in the natural world and the physical world, but also exploring literature, exploring arts, like sciences, not limited to the natural sciences, but all kinds of sciences and scientific thinking. So an inspirational environment can be vast, and it can include many different kinds of things. But again, on the other hand, what we need to be doing is limiting the amount of inspirational topics that the child has in an environment at any given time, so that the child has the opportunity to be able to focus and pay attention and really dive deep into something that they might be needing to repeat or work on.
Yeah. So it sounds like a learning environment is so much more than a classroom, because when you think of learning environments, I'm sure like me, most people's minds go straight to, oh, it's a classroom. But it's not that.
It's not that, and then often also, even if we think about a classroom, many people think that the lesson is when the child is learning. So it's limited within a classroom also to a specific moment when we think that learning might happen. But actually children learn everywhere at all times. So we would need to look at this learning environment thing more broadly if we're really trying to understand how the child learns and what the child learns from. How does a set of values develop? How does an understanding of like my place in the environment develop? How am I connected to the world? There are so many different things that can add to learning that are not confined to a classroom, that are not confined to any given moment. So every moment is a learning moment for the child, and we should be able to use those as context when we educate the child from the professional perspective, or a learned parent who wants to understand, like, what kinds of things can I be discussing with a child, or what kind of things can I be bringing to my child, always remembering that we need to be looking at safety and age appropriateness and limited choices prepared by a smart adult for that kid. But the learning environment really is home, and it's outdoors, it's going to the store, it's maybe a museum visit, it's having a dialogue with the neighbor, it's seeing what animals and creatures we have outside, and then it's everything that we bring indoors with a learning like intention.
Yeah, absolutely. So it seems in a way the benefits of a learning environment to a child we captured. It's to inspire them, help them learn, help them explore. How is a learning environment related to a teacher?
A learning environment is really related to a teacher from like many perspectives. One, of course, is the curricular goals and the objectives that a teacher may have that partly are given, and part of it is decided by the teacher or the staff educating the child or talking with the child or inspiring the child with something. And in every single case, it's the teacher's job to construct and build and choose for the child. And the teacher is trained to make these kinds of choices that both support the individual child and the individual child's needs, but in connection with a society, and in this case a group of children, so that the child is learning as an individual, but at the same time connecting with other individuals, learning to communicate and learning to work together, collaborate and negotiate, all the life skills that we will be looking at going forward in these discussions. But the teacher is absolute key in building the environment that the teacher in a way controls, but also a teacher's job is to welcome the rest of the world to also be a learning environment. So the child might come in with experiences that the child has gained outside or in communication with others or from art or nature or from whatever the child has bumped into. And then the teacher's job is to help the child make sense out of what the child has been experiencing, being good or bad. I think also if I look at learning environments from the perspective of a mother, what I want for my child, what I have always wanted for my children, and then trying to understand that this might be the same for everyone else, it sometimes makes it easy. So what I want for my child is for them to be like safe in an environment with caring adults, people who respect my child, who help my child to become capable, who help my child to be confident as an individual, and then again in connection with other human beings and the world around my child. So confident, capable, willing to take little risks in a safe environment, trying and testing things, starting to understand what works for me and what does not work for me. What I want for my child is for them to understand their learning strengths. I want my child to know how my kid can make smart choices going forward. I want my child to understand also my child's weaknesses so that they can get over the fact that I'm weak at something, but also then maybe get stronger in those areas and understand that it's good to know that some people might be strong here and I'm strong in this like other sense, understanding that we are different and that it's not a bad thing to have weaknesses and strengths.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds as though the learning environment itself could perhaps be an assistant to the teacher.
Exactly. The learning environment is an assistant to the teacher when we structure the environment in a way that the children have the opportunity to work on different kinds of things that the children need in an environment. So we don't believe that an environment should be exactly giving each child the same thing at the same time. We want to build an environment where the children can be doing different things at any given time. There might be one child who needs an area of comfort and calm, needing to be able to take a rest away from the hassle of something that the child has just been learning or working on. And again, at that same time, there might be a couple of kids who are reading a book and studying, and they need to be able to focus on that. And then there's a bigger group of children maybe working on their math skills in form of a game that has been prepared for them. And the environment should be able to cater for all of these needs at the same time, and that is totally possible. And actually what we have noticed is that when we create an environment that allows for different kinds of activities to be going on at the same time, it's more manageable than when we try and herd the whole team to do the same thing at the same time. So we don't really believe in one chair per child or one device per child type of policy, but supporting the children with what they will be needing in this environment.
Absolutely. And speaking of children working together, it sounds as though we always talk about life skills, which are at the core of fun learning. And it sounds as though by working together, children are, for instance, developing skills such as collaboration and communication and participation. So is it fair to say that you can develop life skills by using the learning environment the right way, and you can actually bring life skills to the learning environment?
Yes, I think that it's bringing life skills to the table with children learning, for example, like curricular content is supported by the environment. So when the child is learning something that they need to be learning from the math curriculum, for example, the environment can help by at the same time offering collaboration activities, or we can have in the environment corners or products, learning materials that help the children negotiate while they at the same time are learning the academic curricular activities. So it is a mixture of things that come together in a in a learning environment that connect the curricular objectives to life skills. And we definitely do believe that life skills can be embedded in the program that we're offering the children. So they're not separately learning just curricular things, but at the same time they're developing life skills that bring them strength also going into the future. And that's something that, thinking again from the perspective of being a parent, that is what I want to happen. I want my children to be able to then adapt what they have learned and learn things in context and in communication with other people, because this also helps them become responsible for their own learning when they're like, it's more visible to them what they're doing and what they're learning at any given moment, so that they then understand that it's me who can try something, it's me who can also make mistakes somewhere, and it's not up to someone else to offer me all of these learning opportunities. They come to me from the environment that has been prepared by the smart teachers and the parents, but that's, the child doesn't need to know that.
Yes.
They're exploring the world and learning for themselves, so
Yes.
that they become responsible. And we believe in Fun Academy that the environment that we develop supports this type of connection of curricular knowledge and life skills that develop at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. So before we move on to show some fantastic examples we have for you today from our educators across the world, we have a few pictures to share with you. Could we maybe capture, in a sense, there are lots of learning environments, and I'm sure educators everywhere do a lot to put pictures up on the wall and make things colorful, but what is it that really makes an environment inspiring? What is it that makes an environment fun learning? What are the few things?
One of the few things is that the environment shouldn't be too full of things. So less is more, but not meaning that an environment is stuck the way it is. An environment can be dynamic, so we should be carefully observing the children and understanding the interests of the children, focusing on child participation in a way that we listen to the children and hear the children, and then bring in interesting things for the child to be learning from and with, that are ideally connected to what we want the child to be learning about. So the teacher needs to be very observant, very good at listening and hearing the child, and then bringing into the environment, indoors or outdoors or wherever this learning is happening, opportunities for studying or exploring any given topic or theme, and then also observing when is it time to move this away and bring something else in place. So making sure that it's a living environment that caters for the needs that the children have, and building the context for what we want the children to be learning, be it a skill or a piece of knowledge. An environment that is inspiring is a beautiful environment. We need to respect the child and also educate them in their senses, meaning the visual and tactile, and all of the senses need to be catered to in a built environment created by educators, meaning that you can sense different kinds of things, you can hear different kinds of sounds, you have calm and you have quiet, and then you have also different kinds of sounds that you can be learning from. So it's sharpening your senses, and that's what a beautifully built environment can very well do. So it's part of the holistic education of a child. A beautiful environment respects the child also by bringing valuable items into the classroom or to the child's reach, helping the child understand that I am so respected, that I can see something so wonderful and so beautiful, and they trust me with this. Yeah. So there are many things that we can add to the environment to make it inspiring. Nowadays, technology as well can bring things as inspirational to the environment. We need to be careful of not bringing something that we ourselves don't understand, but we can connect the children to children in other parts of the world to learn about different cultures, the diversity and the beauty of the world, getting to know people from different cultures and different countries, trying to start understanding what language means and how do we communicate. That's also part of a beautiful and inspiring environment nowadays, the connection that we have via technology to outside or the rest of the world or space, as is in our case as well, one of the amazing components of a inspiring learning environment, even for little children.
Absolutely. So perhaps we should look at a few examples of from our partner kindergartens.
Yes.
So
let's have a look.
Let's have a look. I will give this to you for
so we
1
have
second.
been traveling a bit, and some of the travels have taken us to the United States and some travels to China, and these two countries are now examples of what we want to show you. We have been studying and exploring what outdoor looks like in kindergartens in Texas and in Beijing, and in both of these cases there are so amazing things going on and happening that we wanted to share some of the details. Two environments that are totally different, but then they have something very similar in there that brings the world to the reach of the child, also in a physical way. Here we are in Beijing with a group of children that are going on a field trip in a local park, enjoying the first days of spring. And what they're doing, of course, is exploring the environment, looking at the nature, awakening after winter, experiencing the first warm days. When they take a field trip, part of the learning is getting prepared for this trip, thinking about where we are going, what we are going to see and experience. It's also getting ready, like physically. What do I need to wear when I'm going out? What kind of shoes do I wear when we're going to walk on this type of terrain as we have in this field trip? How do I pack my lunch? What kind of nutrition will help me when I'm outdoors with my friends? How long will we be there? And what is the mode of transportation? When we think of all the different parts of this type of a field trip, we can easily start thinking of all the different learning opportunities that are going on here. Yes, admiring the nature and getting a feel for what that offers and the beauty of that is one thing, but then all the different steps that help the child become more capable, more part of my team and my group, and then all the practical life activities that are part of this planning and actually then doing the field trip itself are very interesting. So this is one picture of that group taking their field trip, and what they did there was visible in some of the other pictures. So they were here, for example, finding sticks and stones and then doing a sequencing activity. They had been looking at sequencing in the classroom with classroom manipulatives, and then outdoors they were inspired by what they found there and then sequencing, understanding something that they had already gotten into their thinking strategies in the classroom and taking it outdoors. And what we think happens here as well, it strengthens what they have been learning, but also then some of the younger kids came here, watched the sequencing activity, and maybe got that strategy into their heads and minds at an earlier age than otherwise would have been possible. Yeah. And here they're observing each other, learning from each other, And outdoors, it's also possible to be not only focusing on this curricular activity, but running around, doing physical exercises at the same time. And I think it has been already supported by many research that the physical part of a day also supports the actual learning of the academic in many ways.
Yeah.
So outdoors, this happens in a more natural environment than many times indoors where the space is limited.
Absolutely, and I think this is a really good example to see that already when we talk of outdoor environment as a learning environment, for me and for some of us out there, it could be really, could this be a classroom? But I think that this is a great example of how these children are doing sequencing, essentially the foundation of coding.
Yes, exactly.
From things that they have already found in nature, sticks and stones.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
absolutely.
Yeah, basics of coding, sequencing, mathematics, and then what we get out of this is also a beautiful image. So we see this as a beautiful picture, but that is also exactly what the child is seeing. The child is seeing the beauty in these objects that the child has collected, but also sees beauty in the mathematical sequence that the child sees. So this is also an artistic activity and also, again, a visual activity, both from the academic side, but also the artistic side. So this is one beautiful activity that combines many life skills in one, and then to think that this is all happening under the umbrella of a field trip, which is just pure fun, amazing childhood in itself.
Absolutely. And then they continued.
Yes, well, of course we can just be envious of where spring is at the moment in Beijing with those beautiful flowers. That's, again, one beautiful component of a field trip and studying outdoors. And again, here in this equation, we can see the physical activity, the exercise of climbing. I'm so happy to see that that the children dare climb up, and the teachers are letting these children climb these trees and experience the physical activity that the outdoors offers. And just another picture of that beautiful field trip and the tree climbing activity again.
Absolutely.
And then a glimpse of the outdoors that is a built, constructed outdoor in the Beijing kindergarten. And seeing the smiles on these children's faces when they're sliding down is a pure joy for us adults. And again, going forward, we will be discussing more of what the children are learning in a constructed and built outdoor playground environment.
Absolutely. And I think this is an interesting point because not everybody might have access to woodlands or beautiful natural areas, but of course then you can create a little space of your own.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. And I believe now we're moving all the way to the other side of the world.
Texas. Isn't this beautiful? Pre-K for SA in San Antonio has an amazing outdoor world for the children to be experiencing. And I hope you guys are listening, because I hope that you will be doing a session on your outdoor learning environment for us at one point, describing all the different kinds of elements that you have in that place of yours, and also helping us understand how you construct and how you design and how you remake continuously the environment that supports the learning of the children. Here we're seeing the garden section of that beautiful environment where the children themselves are actively watching the growth, but also very much actively working on the gardening themselves. And then when we walk through this beautiful garden, we see many more interesting elements that support fun learning, life skill learning, and connect that to curricular objectives. And what we also see is the details of such an environment in connection to the beauty of the whole environment. I think that was okay. We had so many more beautiful photos, but I think we're going to have to stop at this, and we will let our teacher friends come in and discuss more and describe more how they have reached these types of amazing environments and how our teachers see the role of an outdoor environment supporting the learning of the children, and how these beautiful environments are actually developed based on which foundations.
Absolutely. So now we will bring you back to us. Hello.
Here we are again.
Here we are again. So what we could do is we will add these pictures that you just viewed onto our Fun Learning Facebook group, and we will add the link to this video once it gets uploaded, so you can go over there, have a closer look, and we will also add the details of where these environments are from, so you could perhaps also give them a shout out and visit, have a further investigation as to how they're creating these environments.
And please do show these images also to children. Child participation is one of the most important things in developing an inspiring environment for children. So show children inspiring, inspirational, both indoor and outdoor environments. Discuss with your children what they think about those environments, and maybe you'll get some tips on how to further develop your environment to better cater to the needs and inspirations and passions of your children. And then we can discuss these further. Please ask questions, give us insight on this topic, and we would like to learn more with and from you going forward these few weeks that we will be focusing on learning environments indoors, outdoors, and everywhere.
Absolutely, and this idea of, as Sanna said, about child participation. So if you do ask your students or your kids, and they have ideas to share with you, please let us know. You can let us know. Just send us a message, and we would be inspired by the ideas, and we would also share them in the next sessions to come. So next week we will continue more on the line of indoor learning environments, but we will stay tuned to find out which specific topic we will dive deep into and which visitor we will have. So thank you for joining us on this session.
Thank you.
I hope we did some justice to this topic. As Sanna said, it's a very broad topic, so we wanted to give you an overall view before continuing to dive in deep in the next few weeks to come.
Have a wonderful rest of the week.
And remember to follow us on Facebook and like our page, and also hop on to our Fun Learning Facebook group, where you can, as we mentioned, view these pictures. So have a wonderful week, and we will see you next week at Tuesday Talks.
See you. Bye.
See you.